Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Giga-Texas. It's Wednesday, the 20th of September, and it seems like this jacket is pretty popular these days, and you're seeing them all over the place with SpaceX and Tesla. So I thought I would just come out and wear my original one that I got way back when I was at the Air Force Academy. And of course, 88 is much better than 22, at least 4 times better anyway. But I also want to just say congratulations to my class for 35 years anniversary. And it's just hard to believe that I graduated that long ago from the Air Force Academy. But anyway, we're going to talk about briefly one of those large items that are being delivered over at the battery cathode plant. I wanted to give you a little bit more context and some information about what we're seeing delivered and installed and why is it important. So we'll get into that right now.
For today's video, I wanted to talk about what these very large items are getting ready to be moved into the second floor of the south end of the battery cathode plant. A lot of viewers have asked as well. Some viewers have said that they are cyclones or hoppers or air filtration systems. It's actually something more important than that, and I thought we would go into it in some detail and explain what they are and how they operate and why it's such a big deal that they are being installed here. Let's start with what they are. These are parts of an industrial pneumatic blending system. There are 3 basic types. There's an air blending, there's a gravity blending, and then there's an air-assisted gravity blending system. Each of these have different strengths and characteristics, and it's really important to know what type of materials you want to mix to select which of these systems are being used. Now, there are no moving parts. It's low dust, high efficiency, and they have very long life. Giga-Texas is using the air blending version of these systems, and it uses a porous membrane on the entire bin bottom, 4 air or inert gas plenums, a simple airflow control system, and the process changes the density of the material by using a gentle folding action with a near perfect blend being achieved by the way that this operates. And also, they just blend with air or an inert gas, so it's very gentle and it's ideal for delicate materials, for example, like lithium hydroxide and other battery materials. These 2 images give you an idea of what the blending cones at the bottom of the tanks would look like, and they also provide a discharge capability for the materials. Now, they are designed to use pulses of compressed air or other inert gases to blend various powdery or granular bulk solid materials into a homogenized mixture. This image gives you an example of an installed battery materials processing factory by NTE Process. And as mentioned before, they use just gentle pulses of compressed air or nitrogen. For the mixing, there's no mechanical parts, so there's no actual contact with the materials. And they can also do this in such a way that they have temperature conditioning, heating or cooling, moisture control, coloring and other mixing of the powders and liquids, possibly, and also some vacuum degassing. Now, the liquid nitrogen is changed into vapor, and what is used for this process by the nitrogen generating system here on the bottom left that you see installed at the south end of the chiller plant, just on the west side of the battery cathode plant. So this gives us a really good idea of why such a large nitrogen generating system was installed here at the battery cathode plant. I thought this illustration from Dynamic Air would be excellent to kind of give you an idea of how the mixing process works. In this transparent container, you can see that there's the homogeneous blending and random particle movement that creates a really strong mixing process. It's very low energy, it's versatile, and it's good for very delicate materials. And also, as we mentioned, there are no moving parts inside. This illustration on the right gives you kind of an idea of how the mixing process works, and there's 2 different kinds. There's either a batch blending where you just put all the materials in and you get that mixed and then take them out, or there's a continuous blending which has some type of a conveyor system that allows continuous operation. And I'm not sure exactly which of these 2 Giga-Texas is going to be using, but I believe it's the continuous operation mode. So that's a quick overview of what these items are. They're pneumatic blending systems. We talked about how they're used and how they operate and some of the advantages to the installation here for the building of battery materials for Tesla. Now also I'd like to remind you that I completed a multi-part series of Tesla's lithium refinery plant being built down in Corpus Christi, and we talked about a lot of the processes there and the end product of the lithium hydroxide and other battery materials. Those are the inputs here, starting with these pneumatic blending systems for the cathode process that is being built into the cathode plant here at Giga-Texas. So I hope that this brings all of this together and that you found this informative and helpful.
So there you have it. We now know the pneumatic blenders are being prepared to be installed over at the battery cathode plant. There's a lot of activity going on today, but I'm going to save that for the main video. Production still has not resumed, and I expect that to be another week to 10 days roughly to the end of this month. So we shall see how that transpires, and when we start seeing a lot of the employees coming back, we'll know that the production is getting ready to start back up again. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.
Thank you to my Patreon members and ex-subscribers. Members and subscribers gain access to hundreds of high-resolution images, previews of future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning from the west side of the highway. I wanted to start here partly because of the sun, but also just to give you an idea of some of the progress that's going on here. This is the new outbound lot. It's also being used to hold some of the materials for the new end-of-line facility temporarily. But you can also tell just how much further to the south it has now grown, and it's wrapping around the south end of the facility as well. They continue to do more earthwork here between the prepared surface and also the west warehouse on wheels, so that is continuing to progress as well. With this zoom in, we can also see that a lot of work with those concrete pipe segments. They're going to be doing some of the underground trenched water management pipes that will run along the central road that's being constructed here, and you can kind of tell that some of the concrete curbs have been put in with the median of that road as well. Also a good view of some of the materials continuing to be stored over in that material staging location. As I zoom back out, this gives you a good look at the continued earthwork now between the section that is now completed and also where the warehouse on wheels is. So I would expect to see this to continue to grow further to the south and join all of this at a common grade. On the south end of the end-of-line facility, we see another section has the yellow moisture barriers. The rebar is getting ready to be installed, and we should start seeing more of the concrete poured here possibly tomorrow at the pace that they're going. The steel structure continues to grow. The white paint is, as many viewers have said, it's kind of a fire retardant material that's placed on it, and it also gives it that white look, which would be nice for an interior. We can see crews continuing to work on more of the roof beams here on the north end section of the building, and you can tell that the building is kind of has a notch section in it, and a large receiving door looks to be in the process of being constructed in that notched section. This is a good overall view at a lower altitude of how all of this is progressing. Now at the bottom of the screen, more work continues with the HDPE pipe fuse welding, and in the middle of the screen, the horizontal drilling operation. You can actually see the pipe that's been drilled into the ground, and it goes underneath the road and it comes out on the east side of the road. So we'll get ready to resume here on the east side of the road. I want to show you down where these blue kind of fence-like structures are. You can see the pit, some water, but you can also see that pipe sticking right out the middle. That is part of that horizontal drilling that came from the other side of the highway. And as you can tell, the accuracy that they had drilling through the ground was quite remarkable to be able to hit that mark. Also, more conduit being put into the trenches that go underneath the road. And then here we can see concrete is being placed over where the trenches and the conduit was installed. And then on the left, that ramp is the ramp for the temporary end-of-line facility, which right now is not operational because production for both the Model Y and the Cybertruck has paused. Work continues on the main entrance section. It looks like they're working more on the lighting effects of those steel beams and columns with the stainless steel cladding. And then here is a very interesting development. More excavation, more removal of concrete. It looks like they're digging down into that particular area. This may be for more plumbing work. So it'll be yet another thing to monitor as things continue to change on the west side. More materials have been delivered, a lot of them in the green packaging here. What we've been seeing is that they are moving it from that west material staging yard over here, and then they are moving them inside for the journal assembly lines 2 and 3 that continue to be put together on the inside. Here it looks like another smaller bridge crane has been delivered. We can see some of the materials have been unpacked, and then we see some of the other materials still in that semi-clear packaging on the pallet on the left. But it's pretty interesting. It seems like there's a lot of cranes being added to Giga-Texas lately. As we continue to fly towards the south, I will give you a good view of some of the activity here near these platforms. Another truck bringing more equipment just passed by, but not a whole lot being added into the second and third floor today. So let me reposition the drone around and we'll resume the narration further to the south. The continuous flight auger pile drilling continues. It's been moved more to the west, and it's nearing where the angled corner of the building is located. And it looks like as they continue to progress towards the west, when they get over by that road, this whole area may be completed. So this may indicate that soon the next phase of construction, which I would think is going to be the footing construction, would be beginning in hopefully the next couple of weeks. So that would be an important part of the extension of the building construction project. The River Road has now had the pavement completed on both the east and the westbound lanes, and in addition to that, the median has all of the concrete curbs installed. So I would expect to see some landscaping in the section between the two road sections, and then here where the median kind of comes together and you can see where it ends at that concrete intersection area. Looks like all that is making a lot of progress. As I fly over this south end, much of this area has had the continuous flight auger piers already installed. In addition to that, we see some work in that opening with the yellow around that water truck, and also more of the wall panels being installed on this stamping 2 extension. And it looks like there's still that one section that has no wall panels on the inside or the outside, but they are continuing to work in that area. We also see on the southeast corner more of the windows have been removed. What they do is they remove the windows, they put them on rack mounts to move them for safekeeping, and then they put this pre-assembled kind of the steel stud frame back in where the windows are, and then they put those blue panels on. So it looks like there's just one small section of windows remaining to be removed. I've had people ask, why are they doing this? I can't give you a complete answer other than the fact that the building is going to be extended, and this is the way that they are choosing to progress at this time. So it's something I'll continue to watch, and I will show you as I see developments on the site. As we fly up over the east side power lines, I wanted to give you a good view of the work that's continuing to prepare this construction site for that multi-level garage. You can definitely tell that the prepared graded surface has gotten much wider across this section, and eventually it should join up with the area that has the smaller rectangle that has the gravel in it. You can also see how the redirected water outfall channel goes around the entire section here near the tree belt, and that broken up rock called riprap in the middle of that each of those channels, and that helps with controlling the water flow that goes through this location. We also see more dirt being piled up here on this smaller rectangular area. I think this is just preparing for more grade work so that the dirt is nearby where they need it. And then here we can see there's continued work on this 3-pipe manifold system for the underground water management pipes that are going through this area. Since they are putting a lot of gravel around it and then filling it back in, I would expect to see some sort of road surface over this area. And with the 45-degree angles, we'll see that more of the pipes go along the existing road. As I fly around the construction site here at a lower altitude, I want to show you something interesting. This is part of history of Giga-Texas. This pipe that you see is actually the last remaining part of the old bag plant on the north end where the electrical switchyard is now. That was a smokestack that was removed and put in this area to channel water under a temporary road. So that is no longer needed, so the last part of that bag plant is about to be demolished. The testing and calibration lot, as you can tell, is essentially empty. Just a few small numbers of Model Ys here by this tent, and these look like they're all in, I don't know, different stages of disassembly right now. There's only one Model Y in the entire outbound lot right now. All of the transport trucks are idle. And as I've been mentioning for several weeks, I guess there's a lot of people that don't realize it, but production here at Giga-Texas is in a pause for both Model Ys and the Cybertrucks. And that's to allow all of the assembly of all of the equipment that we've been talking about for months to be completed inside the factory to increase the production capability. And that work is underway still right now in the factory. So I hope that that point gets across, since it seems to surprise a lot of people that production has been paused for a couple weeks here. As I fly around the east side near this kind of large hill of debris, I just wanted to take a look at the recycling location here. You can see that one kind of machine breaking up more of the wooden pallets for recycling, but almost none of the material over here has really changed. We can see some of the Idra parts still waiting here for recycling, but we do see that all of the Model Y bodies have been crushed up and taken off site for recycling. So there are no car bodies over in this recycle area right now. Since I'm on the east side here, I thought I would fly along towards the north over the trees to give you a slightly different view of the battery cathode plant, the silver crash test facility, the wade pit, and then the cell test lab on the north end near where these cars are parked. Also on this north side where a lot of materials, workshops, those large stainless steel tanks, and some concrete items are waiting for their time for installation into the cathode plant or the die shop. As I fly back towards the cathode plant, I'm going to give you a good look on the east side today and most of the activity, some of the equipment, some of the other changes that are going on. Most of the changes are down near where the crash test facility is. The wade pit, as you can tell, is pretty idle right now. There are some materials being stored nearby, and also some more of the kind of workshops and containers on the right for some other equipment. But it's generally seeming like there's a lot less here, so that would mean that it's being installed inside. We can see these white trucks here. These are asphalt trucks. They're getting ready to pave more of the roadway around the crash test facility. We can see many of the cars on the left waiting for their turn for crash testing, and we can see here a really good view of a Cybertruck that's been loaded onto this rotisserie. And it looks like for right now, they still have the car cover on. They have those green straps on it. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose is at the moment for having the Cybertruck up on that rotisserie, but it is kind of an interesting further development that suggests maybe we're getting close to seeing some crash testing being done. There's only one Cybertruck remaining on the east side, so it suggests that one of the other ones is inside this facility somewhere. Here's a good zoomed in view of the asphalt work that is being done here on the south end. They're making the pavement around where that concrete trench is, where the cable runs through, and the structure on the left is the equipment room that has the machinery to pull that cable. We can see inside the crash test wall is still in place. Some of the concrete barriers, that steel superstructure around has got some of the eventually we'll have lighting and other equipment for the crash tests installed. And again, we'll see a lot more paving around this area. As I turn the drone towards the cathode plant, it's a good look at some of the materials still waiting inside this, outside of this large opening. And then in there is where those 3 7-story tall structures with equipment were pre-assembled and moved inside. And this is very close to where these pneumatic blenders are going to be installed in the factory. So as we talked about in the intro, these will be handling the mixing of some of the raw materials. This is actually a good zoom in view, give you an idea of the worker and the scale of these items. They are actually quite large, but these will do the mixing of that material, and then it will most likely be fed in a continuous way into that next section that has those 3 7-story tall sets of equipment, and that will be for further processing of the materials. As I continue to move around here, one of the things I want to show you is that red item. That's a large load splitter. Looks like the crane is getting ready to use it to pick up these blending units, and then they'll be moving it into that large opening on the second floor of the cathode plant. So I'll pull away just to give you a good overall view of the activity on the east side. There is a lot going on in multiple different facilities today. Bring the drone down into the alleyway just to show you a few highlights. On the left-hand side, further work on that concrete enclosure where the workers are inside. Looks like there's actually a pit where one of the workers' hats was just popping up. So it looks like there's going to be something else assembled there, and I'll be looking to find out what that is. Here is the nitrogen tanks with the large vaporizers. I have been calling this a nitrogen generator. Some people have said that technically is not correct. This is just a nitrogen storage tank with a vaporizer system, and that's fine. But the point of this is to provide that inert gas, that part of it will be going into those pneumatic blenders that we talked about in the intro. It's a good view of the work going on the roof of the chiller plant. And as I turn back towards the northeast corner of the die shop, you can see those 3 tanks and then that new concrete slab that's continuing to be prepared. The middle of the screen, we can see on the trench and some of the trench boxes, more of the steel corrugated pipe being installed. This is for the water management system on this side of the structure, and many of those pipes on the left-hand side will be used for that underground system. Also, more of the blue water pipes have been delivered, and some of them are being stockpiled nearby here. This is the lift station that is under construction. Most likely this is for gray water, and a lift station helps propel the water through the pipes that are being installed throughout this entire area. And this is a good overall view of the entire west side and how it continues to transform, as well as the north end of the battery cathode plant. Again, you can see some of the pipes being stored on the right-hand side, more excavation work where the lift station is going, and also a good perspective of the widened berm in this particular location. We now have some clues of why this has been widened so much. You'll note that there are steel corrugated pipes starting to be set out next to this berm on the right-hand side of the screen. Also, where the workers are, we can see these large trench boxes. Those are used for trenches to prevent it from caving in on the workers while they're putting the pipes in. And also the gravel will be part of filling in those trenches. So it looks like this entire site is going to have underground steel corrugated pipe installed in the very near future. None of the windows on the left-hand side have been unpacked to be moved in yet, so we're still waiting to see that happen. And then here at the old house complex, we can see more earthwork, removing the dirt, bringing that grade all the way down, and some of the rest of the vegetation is being removed as well. Now, one thing I want to show you as I pull away, note that the overflow lot has a fairly good amount of vehicles in it, and the regular parking lot is also full as well. As I mentioned, production is at a pause state, but what this may indicate is they're starting to bring more workers in for either training on the new equipment, and we can also see more equipment being delivered here by the trucks, or maybe they're starting to need all the employees so they can do the testing and calibration of all of the new equipment. Either way, I think this is a very positive sign that although we still have another week or so to go before production resumes, that things inside are progressing fairly well. On the left-hand side of the screen, we can see more of the trenching for conduit right to the north of Tesla Road, and you can see some of the workers here on that concrete vault. The cables will go through the conduit, and the conduit will go through those trenches and then through those particular concrete boxes. We also see where the conduit is being installed here directly underneath these power lines and how that is working to continue to install more of the electrical cabling system for this entire area. As I bring the drone down, I want to give you some good views of the Megapack site. A couple of interesting developments. One is that the work on the wiring continues, and it looks like there's just maybe 4 or 5 megapacks remaining for the wiring. And then here on the left-hand side, near the perimeter fence, we can see that these holes are being bored by that boring machine, and then there's also small rebar cages. This looks to me like we're going to see light posts installed, and it'll help provide illumination for this entire area. On the south end here of this steel structure, we see crews working to install more and more cables that will connect the Megapacks up to this particular site. Also on top of the poles, on my previous video I showed that they were working there. Now we can see that there are steel cables that connect each of the poles and kind of crisscross over this area. Believe that this is for lightning protection. On the north end next to these poles, the trenching is being filled back in, the conduits have been installed, the concrete has been poured, and now this is being filled back in. So another great sign that they're nearing some completion of work here on the Megapack site. And I'll give you a good overall view of how this looks from this vantage point today. Flying over the power lines and poles, this gives you a good view of the trench work that comes up, takes that turn to the right, goes under the road, and re-emerges here next to the bottom of these 3 poles. You can see those kind of 5 cross beams on that one pole. That's where the conduit will connect up to that pole, and then it will be able to connect electricity to the grid. This is how the new electrical switchyard looks today. Half of it is actually operational right now, and I can come in here and give you a closer view to show you why. This transformer, and right next to it in the middle of the screen, you can see the disconnects are open. That is not operational, but the other transformer beyond the wall, and then you can see the 3 disconnects are connected. That is what is now powering portions of the factory along with the temporary switchyard. And as I pull away, this is a good view of those transformers, the connections, and between the fence and those 2 white trailers, the connections go into that vault, and then on the other side, all of the connections, the conduit and the wires have been connected now, and most of this is now completed. What we're going to most likely see is an extension of that perimeter fence around that underground vault and those white trailers fairly soon. So there you go, a good view, I think, across lots of the site today. Some information about pneumatic blenders in the video intro, and I hope that you liked what we talked about during the video itself. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great day.